Thank you, ladies, for coming today. Today, we wanted to talk about what it's like for a parent who has a child that they're struggling with their own mental health, but then mom or dad, they have their own mental health diagnosis that they're navigating while being a parent. And I know from experience that that can be really tough. And depending on your child's age, you may not be sharing that with them. They may not really be aware of what you're going through. And it can be tough. Have you guys experienced that at all?
Oh, absolutely. And I was thinking about this topic, ladies, and my mental health challenges stemmed from when my son got diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. That's when all my anxiety and, depression kind of came in. And
Yeah.
early on, because I have two typical neurotypical children, early on, it was just trying to get through the day, right? Just trying to don't put me first. It's about these kiddos, right? Make sure that they're okay. And I think I did myself some damage by early on, and we're talking years ago, by not taking care of myself and letting it just kind of build and build. And that's not good.
Do you feel, as the parents raising the next generation, that we're trying to do things a little differently than our parents did? Because we watched our mothers and our fathers stuff that stuff down and get through. As adults, we can see that now. We didn't maybe know at the time, but I've found, like, for myself, that it just came to a point that I realized I wasn't doing my children a favor by not sharing, by not letting them know. Like, I had, like, social anxiety, and I had to go to the school. I wanted to be at the school plays and the Christmas play and all this different stuff, and I had to learn how to put myself by a door so I could be there, and I knew I had an exit. I could leave if I needed to. I think for anybody struggling with their mental health, even though you struggle with this, you do not want to struggle with it in public. You want to, like, have that face on and you're okay all the time. So it can get, a little sticky trying to schedule things and be present and in the moment for your kids when, inside you're a hot mess maybe, you know.
Right. Well, you're trying not to, you're trying not to pile anything else onto your kiddos, right? Like you always feel like, well, if I show that I'm anxious, that's going to make them anxious, and then we're just going to have a whole big bubbling pot of anxiousness in our house. So you're trying your best to put on that game face, and where do you go to let it out? For me, it's hard. My kids are always with me. We have a little one and we have two homeschooled kids. And so there really isn't anywhere to go to just, express yourself. Try to, let that anxiety out.
So I have an ADHD and an anxiety diagnosis, and my husband has an ADHD diagnosis, and we're raising two out of the four so far have an ADHD diagnosis. And one, has symptoms typical of like what my husband deals with, and the other one has symptoms typically of like what I deal with. And we, funny enough, find it easier to parent the other one. So like I have an easier time parenting the child that, favors my husband's, ADHD symptoms, and he has an easier time parenting the child that favors like my ADHD symptoms. It's very difficult to like parent yourself. We make jokes about it all the time because everybody loves my 9-year-old. She's got like the cutest personality in the world. She drives me absolutely bananas. Like she's going to be the reason I get my first gray hair. And that's the one that favors me very much. Like very much a little version of me. And now my oldest, I could deal with her all day every day. We've done great. She's on National Honor Society now, and but the other one, like I don't know what to do with her. So her dad's going to have to take over like these school meetings and stuff cuz that one's tough. But it is very hard, especially running a household. So I am our like household manager. I pay the bills, I make the calendar, I realize like where we have to be and when. I struggle with that big time, like in life, but I'm trying to set a good example and I'm trying to make our house run smoothly. So we struggle a little bit with those things. Like I have color coded highlighters and I have copies of the calendar everywhere and I have alarms on phones and alarms on the Alexa so that we don't forget, because if I didn't I'm forced to do this essentially, because if we do, it would fall apart if I didn't. But it doesn't come naturally to me. It does not come easy to me. So that part is hard. That part is very hard.
Well, and Chrissy, Chrissy, your kiddos are still, they're a little younger. So all that motion in the house, all that, it's everywhere. And I remember that. And I would struggle with that too. Like, you know, my anxiety would really, how are we going to feed these kids tonight when everybody's at a different baseball game and, or whatever, practice. And then we have Levi who has a disability and we're trying to, take him with us and have a normal life. But yeah, the anxiety of that all, I will say it has gotten a little easier. When the kids, my two older ones are like out of college now. So they came back home, which I didn't think they were going to come. I mean, but they came back home, and parents, sometimes they do this. And I was happy that they did, but it's different. It's not as, I'm not as anxious. There's a little bit of anxiousness there. Don't get me wrong, because they're 24 and 22. And my youngest one is going to be a senior, but when they're little, yeah, those ebbs and flows seem like they're always there, up and down, up and down, up and down.
It's rough managing other people when you struggle to manage yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was like never somebody
Yes.
that this came easy to. I was always kind of like, I do thrive though in chaos. So that's helpful. That like usually like a chaotic environment, I'm fine in that environment. But I had to learn to like write everything down. I have Post-it notes everywhere. Here, look, I have one right here that says AJ 504 and AJ like McGuffey physical, because school starts next Thursday. And if I don't do those things like in the next 2 days, then we're going to be in bad spot. She won't be able to cheer and she won't be able to get like her medicine in school. And I have to do those things like right now. But if I don't write it here and I don't put an alarm on my phone, like I will completely forget about it till the first day of school.
I get it.
Yeah.
I've had just like being so overwhelmed and having so much anxiety with just everything with life, whether it was dealing with the kids individually or dealing with the kids with school. I can remember like going over a list of medications with the doctor and they, confirming what the child's taking, not taking. And I'm just like running all the medications together, like that everybody's taking. He's like, they take that high of a dose? I'm like, oh no, that's mine. That's mine. Like just to try to keep things straight can be very difficult, honestly. It's a lot. And you're just out there trying to do the best you can. And we never give ourselves enough grace or enough credit for the things that we have done. I know I've been in situations where I took my kids out of school. We had like a 4-day weekend. It was not planned, but like I couldn't do it anymore. Like everything was too much for my own anxiety, my own everything just that I was dealing with. I said, we're just taking a break, And the excuse says, there was a family emergency and I was the family emergency. I was okay. But like I needed everything to just stop. I couldn't schedule one more thing or do one more homework or worry about anything I just needed the brakes put on.
And like you said, Melissa, about the medications, it's a personal decision, but it's okay. We don't have to be a martyr and try to do this, like in years past. If you need to take something to function and to it's okay. It's your decision, and don't forget to take them if you are on them, because they've saved me.
Yes. Absolutely. And we, just like our children would go through it or anybody going through it, whenever you are taking medication, there's a time period of waiting for it to start working, finding out if it's going to work for you, and then possibly coming off of it and going on something else. I always felt guilty, like that my kids had to experience me going through that while I'm just trying to get better. Suffering with major depressive disorder and anxiety, it's a lot, and I know
Yeah.
parents dealing with a long list of mental health diagnosis, and they are just trying to keep everything straight for the school year, for the school day, for dinner afterwards, any extracurriculars. It's a lot. It really is.
Right. Well, that grace is so important. I mean, because as moms, regardless of mental health diagnosis, we don't give ourselves grace, so we're already, stacking, the tasks and stacking our expectations for ourselves. But when you are dealing with things like, anxiety or depression, and you aren't feeling the greatest, and your kids do still need dinner, or they still need to be run to practice, or they still need to go to the store, or whatever they need, you're the one to do it. But it's okay to take time, or eat hot dogs, or and chips one day or 2 days, or like you said, take a breather, because we give grace to our kids. When my daughters needed a break from school, I'm like, sure, take it, you need it, but I'm in the kitchen doing all the dishes and scrubbing the floor, and I'm ready to explode. I need to remember, and all parents need to remember, to take that little bit of, give themselves grace.
And think about possibly being that parent, that person for another parent. When you see them out there and they look like they're struggling, even saying to them, I see you. I've been there. I see you. You don't have to do anything else. Just let them know that in our world of society where everything gets picked apart and you're constantly feel like you're being judged all the time, just letting another parent out there, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're very
And it's
hard on
okay.
ourselves.
It's okay to step away from the situation as well.
Mhm.
I mean, we have to know that, okay, mama needs a timeout. I don't care if it's a walk around the block. I don't care if it's outside and have a cup of coffee and stare at the sky. We have to step away and kind of regroup or reset. Even if it's a 5 or 10 minute thing, you have to do it. Because what's the saying? When mom's cup isn't, when mom's not happy, nobody's happy. But when your cup's not full, you can't give from an empty cup. And it's hard because we live on, a lot of us are in survival mode all the time. And my cup is empty. It feels like it's empty a lot. So,
Yeah. And there's generational trauma that some of us are dealing with that we don't know how to be outside of that flight, fright, or freeze mode. Like we're just there. That's our place. That's where we're at.
Mhm.
And it's hard when you start thinking about, like, we always try to ask the families that we're working with, what kind of self-care are they doing? And they're like, what's that? Or some of them are trying something, and it just, if you can actively make a decision for yourself, like, I'm going to do this for me, it's healthy for me. It's like taking your vitamins, taking your medicine, eating and sleeping and exercise. Like, I'm going to do this thing for me. And I've tried telling my own children that are becoming mothers right now, put them in a safe place. If they're safe, go outside, take a minute. I started counting to 10, and then it was 100, and it was 1,000. Like, whatever you need, do the alphabet, whatever it is, put them in a safe place and go settle down. Take a minute.
Right.
Because if you don't, your day will go every second to the next second to the next second. And next thing you know, everybody's going to bed, everything's done for the night, and you're sitting there and you're still wired. You're like, I know I need to go to sleep because I got to do this all over again tomorrow. Sometimes you can fall asleep from exhaustion, and sometimes, for me, like, my mind will be going 100 miles an hour, and there's like, I can't fall asleep now. So I had learned a thing about writing stuff down that I needed to, one, make sure I remembered, two, get off my chest, and then put it in a drawer, close the drawer. I dealt with it for the night, let it go. That took a lot of practice to make it make sense to me, because the first few times I'm like, so I wrote it down. I'm still thinking about it, but giving myself permission to turn that off and say, tomorrow will take care of itself.
Right.
I gotta sleep.
So true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It's important to remember too, we do all the stuff for our kids to make sure they're getting the help they need. We make sure our kids have their therapist appointments and their med appointments and this stuff. It's okay to get an appointment for yourself. Get some professional help if you feel like you can't take it anymore, or you know what I mean. It's so much better to talk to a professional than blow up on your kids.
Yeah.
Which happens.
And we're
Now you can do some Zoom sessions if you can't take a lot of time to like drive somewhere, and sometimes there's wait lists, and even to see a psychologist sometimes it takes a little while, but if you can get in on a Zoom, a virtual call, I find they might not be, sometimes you need to be in that room with the tissues and on that couch, but I've gotten some really good advice and good thought-provoking stuff from a virtual therapy calls. So I would try that.
one of the parents that we were working with had shared this one little thing that she did, and it's called like high-fiving. Have you seen where you high-five yourself? And kind of like at the root of it, you get up in the morning and then you're brushing your teeth, you're washing your face, you're like in the mirror. Well, usually that takes a short amount of time and you're done. Taking a minute and really looking at yourself, giving yourself a high five before you go to bed at night. I may have had 10 things I didn't get done, but I also did 25 other things. And always include like, you kept people safe. You fed all these little people. They all went to sleep with food in their belly, in a clean bed. And if it's not clean, tomorrow, the next day, you're going to get it clean. Like, we do so many things that we sit back at the end of the day and we think, oh, I didn't get to this or that. Okay, give yourself a high five for what you have done, because getting those things done did not happen by accident. You worked your butt off to make it happen. And sometimes if we're taking care of ourselves and our kids got to witness that, we showed them it's okay. It's okay. Whatever this looks like, it's okay. We'll do what we need to do tomorrow. Maybe today we just need to chill out. Maybe we need to sit down and cry, or we need to go talk to somebody, whatever that looks like. I think when my kids were very young, I worried about modeling a lot, because anything you say, they're going to repeat, and they're going to repeat it at the worst possible time. So like, you're very conscious of that, but they're always watching us. So if they know that we might have an issue like they might be struggling with, then they see it's okay. And it's not always perfect. I don't know anybody that can navigate this world and always 100% be on top of their anxiety, their depression, their mood swings, whatever the case might be. It's a lot. And sometimes it looks kind of ugly, but we're okay. We're going to take care of it. We're going to deal with it. We're going to get a little better,
I found it hard having my own mother who went through mental health issues back in the 80s, and there wasn't a whole lot of easy help. You either went to a mental hospital or an institution of some sort, or you just self-medicated. And being parented by someone like that, turning around and parenting children who need help, I always feel myself overdoing it. You know what I mean? Trying to not be the parent that I was parented by.
Mhm.
And as my kids have gotten older, you know, I've realized that they still need to see me struggling a little bit because, you know, they just need that reassurance that, hey, everybody goes through it. And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
all consume,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think too, for whenever we were becoming mothers, our mothers that went through the same thing, if they would have talked to a doctor, talked to a friend and said, like, I'm really struggling, I'm having a hard time getting through taking care of the kids, they would have been very afraid to share that information with someone for fear of losing their children. So when we think about that
Right.
past generation, there was a lot of fear with sharing. So what did they do? They didn't share and they pushed it down and they got through. But I think that that had to have made it 10 times harder, where I feel like I personally and our generation, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like I can say, I'm struggling today. I need some help. I need to stop what I'm doing, focus on myself, go talk to a doctor, go whatever I need. Usually, I probably need to eat something. I get hangry. Um, that's usually my first thing. Do I need to eat? Um, but I think like what people in the past went through, I feel like we almost owe them in a sense that we do speak about it. And mental health isn't a scary word in our home. And we show our kids it's okay to be vulnerable and all this stuff isn't pretty, no matter what your diagnosis or chronic illness or anything you're dealing with, but it's okay. You know, it's acceptable, it's part of life, and we're there for them, and we got to be there for ourselves.
It's important to,
Yeah.
like you said, it's important for them to see, but also to discuss it with them as they're getting older. I found talking to my older sons, watching them struggle in some things, you know, life is hard. It's inevitable. Nobody's gonna go through life, you know, it's not all rainbows and flowers, right? So you're going to have some hard stuff. And just knowing that mom and dad or whoever, you know, lives with you, whoever cares for you, has also struggled at some point, you know, it's important for them to know that.
Yeah.
And to talk about it. You don't have to have a sit down family meeting and say, we're going to talk about our mental health and what mom went through when she was 15. No, but it's important.
We don't even have time to schedule that meeting, so
Right.
Yeah.
But it's important for them to know, you know, to feel okay talking about it, you know, to their family. You know, so because there's still a stigma, but not like it was, my goodness, like you said, years ago. My goodness, that's some hard stuff.
And I feel like they went through the part where if they spoke about their mental health, it changed their ability to be a parent. Like you would have been considered not a good mother because you needed to go do this and go do that. Because I've
Right.
really put a lot of thought into like, why did my own mother deal with things in a certain way? And I feel like a lot of it was society and what her mother before her mother before her, you know, chin up, get through, keep going.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know, think I'm different. I'm built differently than that now. I know differently. So like, not that there's not times that you don't just put your chin up and get through, but also showing our children and our partners, spouses, whatever that looks like, that we're real human beings. Things, you know, things are different for all of us. And being graceful with your friends and family instead of like, why did somebody cancel and they didn't want to come to this? maybe it actually doesn't have anything to do with the whole family. Maybe mom or dad or somebody was struggling and they don't have to justify explaining to everybody why they're not coming. Um, I don't know. I'm very curious to see how this next generation is going to treat their little ones they're around. And, you know, I'm excited to see that and the difference. I think about like considering like whenever I was in school, what special education looked like compared to how it was for my children and how it is today. Like it is a beautiful thing now. It is a wonderful thing for your child to get what they need. I don't know. I'm getting off topic, but
No, it's true. It's true. It is a good thing. I mean, it's worth mentioning because, you know, when we were growing up, we didn't have the supports for our issues, you know, in school especially. Um, you know, we had a counselor, one counselor with, you know, for 100 kids, and, you know, they don't really do a whole lot for you. But nowadays, even the kids themselves in the high school recognize when you're struggling and can help you, you know, report you, you know, not report you, but that's a bad choice of words. They can, you know, tell for the student assistant program or whatever, you know, help you get, you know, some help there. They're very sensitive to each other's needs these days. It's actually pretty
yeah,
heartwarming to
I
see.
love that part of it. That and teaching our kids, you know, when you see something, teaching them about other people and themselves. I am sure our kids have a different perspective than even we did when we were in school about thinking about others in that light, you know.
Right.
But just for all of our parents out there, moms, dads, whether you have a mental health diagnosis or not, we know it's hard. It's very difficult to be a parent, and there's so much that goes into every day. So I would just ask you to give yourself some grace. As always, give yourself grace. None of us are perfect. Sometimes we set really big expectations on ourselves. Whatever you didn't get done today, give yourself a high five because I know you got something accomplished today. Your people are, they're safe. Some days that was a big enough job that there wasn't room for anything else but just to keep everybody safe. And maybe we just made them all laugh
Right.
today, you know? It's,
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
big thing. Humor,
I know.
laughing. If you're not laughing, you're crying, so you might as well
Yeah.
be laughing.
Yeah, if you're not laughing, you're crying is a true. I'm constantly trying to make some kind of joke here, or like, you know, singing instead of yelling,
Yeah.
because it's rough. It is rough out here. Um, my oldest is sitting in here, like staring at me, waiting for me to finish up. And as I said, like singing instead of yelling, she's like, "Oh God, you do that way too much." But I don't want to yell at them. But I'll be like, "You're being a jerk right now. Why are you acting like this?" When in reality, I just want to like scream. So we
Yeah.
all do what we
Yeah,
can do.
that's funny. I do that
It is
too.
tough though.
Yeah,
Listening to all of your like, you know, points of view too has been helpful because at least I know I'm not alone in thinking like it is kind of hard to navigate your own issues and then help your family, you know, deal with all of them. As mom, you carry the weight in the house and it's tough.
And how quick are we? If we have an appointment, we will cancel our appointment at a snap. Oh, no, that's not important. We got to do this. And we
right.
need to quit doing that. We got to take care of ourselves, you know, because if you miss that appointment, now you're not going to get your prescription refilled. And then you're on this cycle where it's just a hot mess. So, like, take care of yourself. Your appointments are as important as your children's.
Good, I needed that pep talk because I have anxiety medicine sitting at Walgreens that I've been ignoring and I really need to go pick it up. So now, since you just said that, I'm gonna like have your voice in my head and I'm gonna go pick up my medicine today.
Good.
Yeah, and all the
Go
other
get your.
parents that are listening, you know, they're just like us, right? We are like that we are no different, right? We all, and that's great. that little sense of something that gave you, oh, I really should go to Walgreens. Yep, I got to do it.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, Jens, have a good rest of your day, and I'll let you go, and we'll talk again soon.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.